Hello, everybody. It's Mind Body Marathon show here. I'm your host, Dr. Leo Kormanik, and I'm a sports chiropractor. And to my left here is Matt Pisanelli. He's also a sports chiropractor. And to my right is Zachary Goulet.
Zachariah.
Zachariah. He's a massage therapist here at the clinic as well. And yeah, today's show, we're going to just talk a little bit about like modalities, isolating heat and cold, like sauna work, cold plunges, and just kind of some tips about that and how to utilize that in your daily routine. So kind of to start, you know, sauna and cold plunges has been something that's been a foundation of patient management at the clinic for about a decade now. And obviously becoming very trendy now,
Mhm.
especially the cold plunges and everything. And it's something that we have always sort of agreed with and believed in. And so it's fun for us to see it catch fire. But have been doing this for years. But I kind of feel like we're going to start a little bit with Dr. Matt here because he's just now starting to do a little bit more of the sauna work. He didn't really do a ton of it before, but he's trying to do a little heat adaptation. But we'll talk kind of about all the benefits of everything here. But we'll kind of start with that.
Yeah. So just to kind of start, basically, history wise, I do horrible in the heat. I've never been any type of runner who enjoys being in the hot.
So you're a grizzly bear outside running.
Oh yeah, like sweat horribly. I just hate the heat. So usually spring training is best for me, and then once we get into fall training, it's pretty awful. So I've got a couple big races coming up this fall that I'm doing, and I want to try and get past that. So,
okay. So what is that? What are you doing?
Yeah. So starting off, some research that basically shows that heat training allows you to adapt. So you want to stress yourself in a hotter environment. So we have the privilege of 2 times a week where I can run during basically the hottest part of the day. So I'm taking advantage of that starting out at home. I've been cranking up the heat a couple more degrees. My wife absolutely hates it right now. I sleep typically in, a long sleeve shirt and pants as well, just trying to get my core body temperature up.
Just bacon all day.
All day.
Just bacon all
that's
day.
not something I would choose to do.
Yeah, man. That sounds miserable.
Well, I mean, but we always joked like when I first got out of undergrad, I remember I ran race in the middle of the summer and I got my teeth kicked in by a bunch of Africans that were really, really good, a bunch of Kenyans that were really fast. And they it was in the summer, it was in July, and I remember thinking, man, like how in the world are they able to run that fast in the heat? And this was like circa 2007-ish. And then a couple weeks later, or like a month and a half later, I run a Labor Day race and I beat a lot of them. Like a couple of them beat me, but I beat the majority that beat me down at this other race. And the only thing that was different was the temperature was like 20 degrees cooler. And I was like, I don't know how to run in the heat. And it's clearly an issue. And my fitness was actually should have been worse in the second race. So then I literally was just cooling down with them and just talking about it. And they're like, oh yeah, we just like literally run in our Fila outfits the whole time. Like we just basically heat train constantly. And so then I always joked it's like poor man's altitude training, The running in the heat is like literally like training like you're in like at altitude. The benefits are the exact same. You're going to get an increase in blood volume. And
do you want to explain why that happens?
Yeah, so like basically whenever the simple mechanism is that whenever you're in a hot environment, your body puts out a stimulus to get blood to the surface, to the extremities and the surface of the skin quicker. So it increases capillarization in the blood vessels or in the body. So which means you're going to get more surface area that your blood can travel through, so it can distribute heat against the skin. And then that's how you cool yourself off. Obviously, you do that by sweating. But if you get more blood vessels towards the skin itself, then you can cool off quicker. Now, altitude training works by increasing hemoglobin based on the decrease in oxygen, but the effect is you increase your blood volume because you can't thicken your blood with excess hemoglobin. So that's how you get an increase in blood volume. But it doesn't adapt you actually to the heat. So it behooves you actually to actually heat train because that makes you more efficient in performing in the heat and also gives you the same blood volume benefits. The other side effect that's really interesting with performance is that if you increase your capillarization, that means that you have more miles of blood vessel in your system. Now that means you can, whenever you get lactic acid production from muscles, now you have a larger surface area to distribute that lactic acid. So you feel the effects less. It's actually kind of amazing how that works. Um,
Interesting.
but what's funny is you can do this with sauna work. So just even doing like, using the sauna a couple days a week for like a half hour will essentially mimic like a
Mhm.
double in running. And obviously we'll do the same thing. You're going to get the boost in blood volume and, there's all sorts of other benefits though.
Dude, remember, can we name drop on
Yeah,
this?
sure.
Von Steen?
Yeah.
A couple years ago. So Von is a ultra marathon runner in Ohio, and he qualified for Western States 100, and he was in the masters age group.
He was that
Six,
year he was the oldest finisher, which was 21 or 22. He
yeah,
was the oldest finisher
yeah.
at Western States.
And he would do his training runs and then come here and get in the sauna. And I think he did that like 2 or 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And when he came back, and I think it was like him and like 3 or 4 other guys. I can't remember, but he was the top finisher. And I think the 2 or 3 other guys like DNF'd, and then maybe
Yeah.
one other guy finished, but he attributed it to coming to the sauna.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you're running 100 miles, and the sauna is the thing that like,
The other thing that's really interesting is
it's
that
awesome.
when you integrate sauna work into your routine, and we'll discover a little bit more here in a second about what different types of sauna, but if you integrate it into your routine, you will literally recover quicker. So not only is there the performance
Mhm.
benefit, there's the recovery aspect because it just has to go down to activating heat shock proteins. So heat shock proteins are basically epigenetic modifiers that will manipulate the genome to make you more efficient with recovery and also like it sort of activates life sustaining genes. And that's really the genius of the heat therapy.
Yeah.
So
So like, when would, like, based off of like a training program, would you do heat training and sauna after like a hard workout, after an easy run, after a long, like, or does it really does it really matter? Or is it just kind of integrate it when it?
yeah, I think it matters. I think it matters because, if you did a really hard, like say you did a long run, you ran just like 15, 20 miles, I probably wouldn't do it that day. I mean, that's just too much stress in the
Yeah,
system. I
yeah.
mean, it's like
I mean,
the
you're
hormone,
running the risk of dehydration.
it just the extended dehydration,
Yeah.
because you're
Mhm.
just going to be, it's just too much.
Yeah.
But, say you do like quarters and then the workout in total was like maybe 8, 10 miles, like you could do it then. That's fine. But say you do quarters in July in the middle of the day, well, I probably wouldn't do the sauna after that. But it could pretty much be put at the end of most days. And I think that's beneficial, which kind of brings up an important point about the stimulus on when to do it. So typically, my rule of thumb with managing people is that it's best to do heat training later in the day, typically after 5, because not that it's bad in the morning or anything, but you're gonna get a better effect if it's later. And it really has to do with how you are doing when you're heading into bed, because you want your body actively trying to cool itself down as it's heading into bed. And the reasoning on that is you will you'll sleep deeper because when your core body temperature drops, that's really what gets you into REM sleep. It's not really the timing or the cycle of the sun, it's actually the heat that does
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, so it's
So
typically 2 to 3 degrees below your normal temperature.
yeah,
So
that's
if
what
you're 98.6 degrees, which is the average
yeah.
temperature, it would be somewhere between 95 and 96 is the optimal temperature for your body to be at
Yeah.
night. And
When
then
you're sleeping.
when you're sleeping, and
Mhm.
then upon waking, your body naturally will start to elevate it
A
again.
little closer.
And so, because of that, if you do sauna work right at the beginning when you first wake up, you're already going to be elevating your body too
Yeah.
high.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's not that it's bad, but it's less effective,
Yeah.
It's still a great stimulus, but if you're gonna do it, like, you might as well just do it at the end of the day, so that way you get a better night's sleep, and then, you're really sending that boost in blood volume throughout the night and then
Mhm.
just activating those genes. But on the flip side, um, if that's the case, then you probably shouldn't do a lot of cold exposure after 5 because obviously you want your core body temperature to be slowing down as you head into sleep. So if you get into cold, that would be ramping it up. So I wouldn't take like cold showers before bed, or I wouldn't do any of that. It's the reason why, like, historically, people were in the day with a hot bath. I mean, it just you will sleep better if you have a really hot bath, or you have a sauna experience, or a really hot shower right before bed. You're just going to sleep better. Cold exposure is better in the morning, because in sort of the early afternoon sort of thing, because it stimulates you. It wakes you up, it integrates you, it like gets you live, and your brain is very clear after that. And so it's a great stimulus as the before the day sort of starts.
Matt, so with you sleeping in a long sleeve t-shirt at night, are you going to try to keep that routine through the summer when you're training?
I haven't thought about that yet.
Because I didn't do that on purpose, but it kind of happened last summer and I felt like it backfired on me.
I mean, it definitely could.
So what I mean by that is, when I was training for Burning River, I would like not put the AC on in my car I would do it sometimes, but like most of the time I didn't have my AC on because I was trying to adapt and then train. And then also like my room can be like an oven at points during the day. And so when I went into Burning River, I went in super tired. And part of the reason was that our upstairs, as we have AC in our house, it doesn't get good circulation up in our bedroom. And I was never like cooling down.
Yeah.
I was just always hot. And so I felt like that backfired towards the end because I never felt tapered. So I bought an AC unit for my window.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I don't think I would do it so close
uh-huh.
to I'll probably, this is my last week of going into it. So I have a race in 2 weeks. I'm gonna give myself a complete week of not doing any heat training just to get
Yeah.
Are
used
you
to
just
regular.
gonna tape cold packs to your body?
No, I'm not gonna. No, so basically I am doing sauna work. I'm doing sauna work 5 days a week.
Yeah. You're using it at the clinic.
Yeah.
So at our clinic, we have an infrared sauna, which brings up a good topic. And then there's the other kind of sauna is a traditional Finnish. Um, the infrared is a good experience for somebody like you.
Yeah.
Oh, grizzly bear, and that's not used to the
Yeah,
the
so
heat.
infrared doesn't get nearly as hot. Ours
Doesn't get
only
as hot.
goes to about 160 degrees.
Yeah.
But it does penetrate, I think, probably deeper
Yeah. The
into the body.
experience is more pleasant, and it's a little bit more like a microwave versus like a convection oven. It kind of gets you a little deeper because the infrared rays kind of go through your body. So yeah, it only gets up to about 160 at max, whereas a traditional finish is going to go 180 to 200 degrees,
Mhm.
and then yeah, you can make that pretty nightmarishly hot with
Yeah.
the steam.
But what's also nice too with the infrared is that you get time of training over a longer period of time, whereas like in a traditional sauna where it's like a steam sauna or something like that, you're really only going to be in it for 5 to 15, maybe
Yeah.
20 minutes, whereas I'm spending about an hour in it.
Yeah, all of the main research that comes out of Finland, which is the bulk of the sauna research, basically says that 20 to 30 minutes, 180 degrees, 4 to 5 days a week. Perfect. Like
Mhm.
that's like spot on. Not every day, but 4 to 5 days a week, and that's the stimulus. Now, what Matt's basically saying is that like when you do the infrared, you can go longer. You can go 45 minutes an hour, and it's actually very comfortable in there. In fact, in the sauna we have here, you can just watch TV. You watch movies and stuff,
Oh
and
yeah.
walk
A
by,
lot of
and
Pulp
he's
Fiction.
watching Pulp Fiction all the time.
Of course he is.
So that's kind of the what goes on there. But um, I think what I personally like to do is I have a finished one at home, and so I'll do that 4 to 5 days a week. No, not 45, 2 to 3 days a week. And then when I head it towards a race, though, what I'll do is actually the infrared one, because the infrared wavelengths will give you more energy
Mhm.
because it stimulates the mitochondria in the body. So it's then less about the heat, even though you're still kind of doing a little bit of heat exposure, but more about like ramping up the internal energy and just getting the internal combustion ready to go for the race. And then, like Matt was saying, it like right before the race, you sort of pull out the ripcord, and you don't do heat training for about a weekish,
Mhm.
and then just kind of let your body kind of coast in. Maybe doing a couple light sessions, but definitely not the couple days prior to the main effort. So,
I need to write this stuff down.
Yeah.
yeah, or just ask me. Knock
Well,
on
you
my
guys are
door.
talking about it now. I need to write it down.
Yeah, so that's kind of the way to do with it with heat stuff, and I like I said, there's just a massive amount of benefits to it, but I think some people even like now what's kind of becoming a little bit more trendy is working out in the saunas, which people do like
Yeah.
push-ups and sit-ups and stuff.
Yeah. That seems fun.
Yeah.
That also seems miserable.
Yeah.
Have you done it at all? Like done sit-ups or push-ups in there?
No.
Yeah.
Squats.
It spikes pretty quick, man.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
I think I did it one time and
Yeah.
I did like a set of 10 of like just air squats off the table that's in there or the bench, I mean. And I was like, dude, no, I'm just gonna chill here.
The other thing that's really interesting about sauna work is that cupping in the sauna actually is pretty awesome
Oh, I didn't even think of that. That's a good
because
one.
when you cup, you want to get a good effect for like myofascial cupping where you get that big deep red look. You want the tissue to be warm because the acids that bathe the fascia they're hyaluronic acids and they're very sensitive to temperature. So if you increase the temperature, your core body temperature, like in the sauna, you're gonna get a nasty deep release in cupping.
Mm.
Like so, if you like cup your thighs, which is like obviously easy to just do, like because you're just sitting there, like you're gonna like look like you're battered. It's like really,
I'm gonna have to try that next
because
time.
I would do that all the time for my Achilles because that's usually what I get is Achilles issues. So I would like cup all the time my Achilles when I'm in the sauna, and sometimes I would get too good of a release. Sometimes I would actually like get them too loose, and it would
Mhm.
almost like flare them up.
Mm.
But anyways,
That's
it's kind of
fun.
it's a fun thing.
You did that at home?
Yeah, the home one. Yeah,
Where'd you have it at? 190?
it gets up there. My wife hates being in the sauna with me because I would just keep pouring water on it, and like at times you pour water on the sauna and you just wait, and then it just gets your skin and just burns you. You're like,
You gotta be that guy. You
oh,
gotta be that
I
guy.
make it so miserable. So I annoy my daughter and my wife all the time. Like they hate going in the sauna with me.
Just don't put your cups by the heating element. They'll melt for sure.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
cups? Is that what you said?
The
cupping.
myofascial.
Oh,
cups,
yeah.
yeah. No, this is like literally like an oven. You can't even come close to that thing.
So is
That's
there
pretty awesome.
other things that you would suggest for people to do at home for heat training that if they don't have access to a sauna?
Yeah. So yeah, I think like you were talking about just raising the heat of your workout room or the heat of the house and things like that. I think is important. The obvious answer would be warm shower, nice bath, a nice bath, not an ice bath, but a nice warm bath,
Mhm.
and then I personally wouldn't advise somebody to wear a lot of clothes going into bed. I would only do that if you're like sick and you're just trying to like
Yeah.
just kind of get a
Burn
fever
everything
out on you,
out.
something like that. It's essentially what a fever is trying to do, is trying to burn out the microbes. So if you kind of feel a little bug coming on, then that's a good idea.
Dude, I
But
have it at home. I've been trying to tell people for years. My routine for when I get sick, a gallon of water, some Pedialyte, hoodie, sweatpants, keep it on all night. You're knocking that out in like a
yeah,
day and a half. No one ever does it because they don't like to be hot at night.
yeah,
They take it off.
right.
But you're
No,
done. I'm telling you. Just do it.
yeah, lean into the fever. Obviously, like be smart about it, but
Yeah.
that's kind of the general cue.
Right.
So I know that there's some research that shows that if you take a warm shower right after exercise, it will prolong
Yeah.
like how long you stay warm.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And
Yeah,
it's pretty significant, like 10% increase, I
yeah,
think.
that's pretty
um,
cool. No,
of
that's a
improvement.
really smart move. Yeah. What about Zach? You're the cold guy. You're doing cold plunges for a long time.
For a little bit, yeah.
Tell me about like where you at with that stuff.
Yeah. It's getting back to a routine of it. I've been I'll be honest with you, I probably haven't been doing it as much as I would like to. And it's not so much that I don't want to do it. It's just, I'll be honest, I've been lazy. I've just been lazy.
Yeah.
But I love it. No, I absolutely love it. So I started doing it probably 2 years ago. I just finally like ripped the Band-Aid off and was like, dude, I just want to see what this is all about. Like I bought a cold plunge for home. It was like a blow up thing. Had it in the backyard by like the end of October, and me and my brother-in-law were because he bought one too, and we just were like, dude, we're doing it every day, like just every day we're getting in, and it didn't matter what time it was, and I really enjoyed it. Like I felt my mental state was so much calmer throughout my day. Like nothing really bothered me.
Yeah.
I felt like truly, I felt like my energy level was really spiked. Obviously my recovery from like my day-to-day work felt better. Like shoulder was feeling better, back was feeling better. But yeah, I just really enjoyed it. But the thing that I think the next year, because I didn't do it as much, was the after effect, was the effect of like, because I shiver and I go cold turkey. Like I'm all in. Like I don't shower afterwards. Like I would just like get out and like let myself just naturally come back up to my temperature.
Cool.
And dude, the first time I did it, because I had to like work to it. But the first time I did it, dude, I shivered for like 2 hours. I actually I gave myself I got sick from it. Like the next day I woke up, I was like, oh gosh, like I'm stuffy. I don't feel good.
You get like back spasms and stuff because you're shivering so much.
But dude, after that, it's like I broke a wall. And
Yeah.
now, even though like if I do it if I do it, let's say on like a Wednesday or something, like a random day, and then I wait 2 weeks or like I wait a year, I won't get in the shower and I'll still warm back up within like 30 to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's just like that period where I'm like, oh God.
Do you do much
How
of it?
long? Well, to answer your question, I haven't for a while. Mainly because we haven't put ice in ours. I love the cold plunges. I do really well with them. It takes me about 20 seconds to acclimate to it, and I can go in there for
That's the
really
grizzly bear. That's all that chest area.
Man.
Cold doesn't phase me.
You're like a polar bear.
Yeah, no, it really is true. I mean,
I,
during the winter, I could run with just shorts on.
Often he does. And we're in Ohio, so that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I pretty much take a cold shower every day.
In the morning?
Yeah. Pretty much every single day. And
Straight
I don't
cold shower.
start with heat. I just start it cold. My wife starts with heat and she kind of goes into it, but I just go straight cold, and then it literally never gets easy for me. Like I am so much better with heat than I am with cold. Like
How do you approach it how do you approach your shower? You get in?
I don't think about it.
Do you? Okay.
Actually, okay, so let me do this. So I have a Tesla. So before I go in, this is like the majority of my work days, I will turn on the Tesla on the highest temperature.
Yeah.
And then I just think about how in like 15 minutes, once I'm dressed and ready to go, I'll be in a warm Tesla.
Do you put it? Don't they have like that romance mode on the Tesla? Is that what you put it on?
I get it going, dude. Which is basically get the little fire thing going. So I actually do that. I get it ready to go, so that when I get in my Tesla, no matter if it's summer or winter or whatever, I'm looking forward to that.
So,
but then I just do it. Just get right in.
Do you go like chest? And then, because
No,
I have like,
I go
you go
head
head first. Okay, good. Because that's what I was gonna say. Because I used to go chest, and then I would like hit my back, and then I'd like,
yeah.
But now I go head first, and now it's like it makes it so much easier.
The shock on the head,
which I know that there is science behind that, but I can't remember it.
Yeah.
But I know like it like.
Well, it's your brainstem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your brainstem's at the back of the neck.
I've always done back first, and then it's the chest that gets it for me. I'm like,
the brainstem is a big deal, and then part of the reason why the chest is a big deal is because most people don't have a lot of like white fat on the chest, which brings up a good point. So you mentioned earlier about having increased energy after doing a lot of it, and that's sort of a hidden effect of cold plunges. Is that one, you will, and we're talking about cold exposure. So there's the showers, which is fine, but it's better to do a cold plunge. There's also like the cryo chambers, but I'm actually kind of mid on those because they're like, why spend all that money to just get blasted with liquid nitrogen when you could just literally take a cold shower, which research shows is basically identical to it. But cold plunge is the best. And it's because water pulls the heat off of your skin quicker. So just think of like the contact of like a liquid nitrogen on you, like if you're in a chamber, the gas on your skin is much less contact. Like the surface area contact is less, right? So it can't pull the heat off of your skin, which is essentially what it's trying to do. But if you have water, if you're submerged in water, almost every single of your skin cells is in contact with water. So the water will pull the heat off of your skin and it just drastically cools you down. The less effective that would be the the shower because there's less obvious water on your skin. So that's the change there.
But showers can, for me at least, seem worse because you have more of a flow. So it takes the heat away faster, but not as a bulk.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I think also too, psychologically, showers are harder because
Yeah.
you could literally just turn the dial.
Right.
It is true.
And then you have serenity like inches away from you.
Yeah.
But if you had like a cold plunge where you could then just put like something to spin the
Oh, that
water
makes
around,
it so much
oh,
worse.
it's so much worse.
Yeah. So like if you're in a cold plunge and you shake and move, like you realize how bad that is because the shell of water that's on your skin got warm because it pulled the warm off your
Mhm.
skin, which is what cooled you down. Um, so once you move, you obviously shake that up and then you have to recreate a new shell. So obviously the whirlpool cold plunges are the worst thing and for me because I hate cold, but it's actually the most therapeutic thing for you. It's like the best. And generally speaking, you want the temperature to be, I don't know, in the 40s, right?
Yeah.
So
I
low
like
50s.
45.
Yeah, 40s.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it has to be weirdly cold like 35 or 38. I mean, I think like being in the 40s is legit. There's a therapeutic effect even in the low 50s. But again, for us, it being in Ohio, it's just easy like 3/4 of the year to just like have
Mhm.
something like literally a kiddie pool out back and just
Yeah, it's
laying
awesome.
in it.
Dude, we were in February, we went camping. Or me and my college friends went to a cabin in Cooks, like right outside Cooks
Yeah.
National Forest. And there was a stream right there after we were done hiking. So we are like, dude, we gotta go back. Like we gotta go back and hit like popping that stream. So we went back, like took our gear back that we had, and we just laid in the stream in February.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
Yeah. When I was at Malone, we would do training camp in Mammoth Lakes.
Mm.
And when the snow from the mountains was melting, it would hit the streams, and then the same thing. They're just freezing cold.
It's just like when you get into the cold, you never get out of it not either laughing or smiling.
Yeah. No, that's true. I never come out of a cold shower or a plunge thinking that was a bad idea.
Yeah,
Like,
same.
For
While you're
the first
doing it.
minute, it's like, why in the
Right.
heck do I do this to myself? Like,
Right.
and then actually for me, I remember one time I flew back from Europe and it was like during the middle of the day. And I remember we were flying, how like sometimes European flights go above like towards Greenland and they come down
Mhm.
because they kind of cut the distance off. So we were flying over the ocean and then I saw all these like icebergs and glaciers and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. Like just thinking how like if this plane landed or was in the ocean right now, like how cold it would be. And then sometimes when I'm in the cold shower and I shut my eyes, I have that view in my head of those icebergs and it freaks me out. It makes me think of like Titanic. But so to get through it, what I literally have to do, and this is kind of a Wim Hof sort of hack, is if when I shut my eyes, like if I'm showering and I hate it and or I'm in the cold plunge, I'll literally think of like putting my hand near a warm, like a fire. And
Mhm.
then just having that visualization does warm you up.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It just reminds me of Fight Club, where like it's the happy cave, and it's like
Yeah.
penguin sliding, but it's like the opposite for you.
What does the penguin say? Like, follow me or
Yeah, or
something like
something.
that. Yeah. And then it slides down. That's a crazy reference. Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like the years ago I was looking into getting a cryo chamber, and then that's when I started doing the cold showers. But I was like, why would I charge people like $50 to do a session of cryo? I mean, I could have made money on it, but I'm like, I just couldn't justify that.
Yeah.
I'm so frugal. I couldn't justify charging people money to like do something they could just do at home
Mhm.
that you actually literally save money on because you're actually not going to use your gas
Yeah.
to heat the water. So
And it helps with that. It helps with that mental side of it too.
yeah.
Like you're in control. You're in the driver's seat. You're not having someone else like guide you there. Like it's your choice to get into that shower and turn it on to cold or go outside and get into that cold plunge. Especially in Northeast Ohio. Like, dude, it's so badass. Like I know my neighbors probably look at me like I'm a psychopath, like a complete like someone who's gonna like kill people. But I walk out there in my bathing suit with my towel around my neck and
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I'm about to just get in this thing. It's just so cool.
Yeah. I know
It's so much fun.
and there is that sort of badass nature to it where you do
Yeah.
feel like you're taking yourself to the next level.
Yeah.
And then but to the mental aspect too, it's like, say you got in a fight, with your spouse or you had a bad day at work
Mhm.
and then you go in the sauna.
Mhm.
You're like, you come out of that thing, you're so like relaxed and just chill. And you're like, it doesn't bother you as much. It like literally flatlined
Yeah.
you. The same thing with the cold. Say you're like really stressed out about the day, right? You got a crazy day coming, you got a lot of patience, you got a lot of stress, you got a project due, something like that. You get in the cold plunge, you get out, you're sharp.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Your mind's like ready to go. Like it's like flatline. Like there's no like stress, like anxiety. It's just like sharp.
Mhm.
And I literally think of my mind as like it's like you turn on your inner sniper. You know,
Mhm.
you're very like targeted and you're thinking very clearly and you're have this focus that's like locked in.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool. It's, yeah, like, I mean, I need to experiment more with sauna use, and that's one thing that I wanna do going into Burning River this year is to actually do sauna use and not do all these, like I just felt like all, like, the heat stuff that I was doing last year, it made sense, but it was very unorganized. It felt very
Yeah.
chaotic,
Mhm.
and so I wanna do more sauna use, but on the cold plunge side of it, um, like, when I get in there and I know that you've said something about this before, and I feel like you were about to ask me a question about how long I go in.
Yes.
I don't time myself anymore when I go into the cold plunge because I don't like life can be so competitive.
Yeah.
And for me, and this came from my brother-in-law actually, because he's very cognizant about this stuff, like just kind of like being in the moment. And I was like, dude, how long have you been like staying in your cold plunge? And he's like, I don't know, I don't time myself. And he's like, honestly, I just go in until I feel like I want to
Yeah.
come out. But he's like, part of it is just like I enjoy just it's like an excuse for me to be outside. And I was like, oh
Right.
my, and it completely changed my mindset.
Mhm.
So I would say roughly like 3.5 minutes, but I don't know, I don't know, but it's just like my time to be outside in this space, and it's really fun.
Yeah. I mean, when I've done it, it's always been like, like a track workout where
Yeah,
you're like, all
Yeah.
right, I've got like 2 more laps to go.
Right,
Like
right.
just
Yeah, you have this
dig through this
countdown.
pain. And
right.
and so now, for me, it's a timing thing where I enjoy it where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try and get to 10. But then once 10 hits, then it's like, all right, now what can I do? And so it's all right. Now let's
Yeah,
go from, the water level up to my like chest to now to my chin.
yeah.
Let's see how long I can get
Let's see
that.
how long
And
you
then
can
it's
last underwater
yeah,
holding your breath.
exactly. Wow. No.
Dude, I'm like a solid 5 minutes. I
Yeah.
because I'm
Yeah.
like, life's too crazy. I just gotta
Yeah.
get in, get out. But
Once
with
I get past the minute or two,
well,
I'm
that's what I'm saying. So, like, if you do a 5-minute session of it, say classic dose, 3 to 5 minutes at 45 to 50 degrees. Keep it simple. If you do a 5-minute dose, your internal dialogue is like, "What the hell are you doing? This is crazy. This is crazy. This is nuts. This is nuts." And then about 90 seconds in, it'll go, "Okay. All right. I'm fine. 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, great. The last 2 minutes, just sharp.
Mhm.
yeah.
You're just locked in."
Mhm.
And they're like, you're cold. It's almost like you separate your mind from your body. Your body's like, "Dude, I'm cold." And you're like, "Okay, that's fine. You're just cold." And then you get out and you're like, "Okay, you're cold." It's not like it's affected. It's not like it's an emotional thing anymore.
Mhm.
Like you literally early on, you were literally like, "I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die." Like that's kind of what your body's telling you. And then eventually your brain goes, "Nah, dude, we've been here
Mhm.
before. You're not gonna die."
Mhm.
There was last Thanksgiving, we had a couple Brazilians staying with us that were swimming here in the US. And so, of course, they don't really ever get cold exposure down in Brazil. And then the one guy was like absolutely dead against it. And then we kind of finally convinced him, good peer pressure, convinced him to do it. And then he got in and then he really started to freak out. Like, I don't think he ever actually was ever exposed to decent cold like that. And I'm like, dude, you're not gonna die. Like, literally, you just gotta hang in there just 60 seconds. Like, you're gonna be fine. You just saw us do it. And he really had to emotionally calm himself down.
Really?
Yeah. It was
Was he
interesting to
about to
see.
cry?
He wasn't about to cry, but like he started to panic. Like almost like as if somebody was like claustrophobic and they're just like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get in. Like he
Mhm.
started to like panic like in a weird way. And then we had to like we let him get out and do his thing, but we're telling him like, "Dude, you can do this. You saw us survive. Like you're
Yeah.
literally you just have to break through this." And then when he was done with it, he was like very emotional because he like conquered this part of himself that he like had never really conquered. And it was interesting
That
what happened in his
that's
internal
like
psyche.
to watch that
I mean, he was a
extreme.
19-year-old kid and
Right.
his friend that was the other Brazilian was really all about it. And then he definitely got peer pressured into it. And
Mhm.
he's like, we were calling him a chump, and he wasn't tough enough and all that stuff. And so he took that to heart. So he tried it, but then he was like, you don't understand, this is, and he starts kind of panicking. But we got him through it.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, I think it's great mental training too.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
if you can push through a pain like that, because it does. The first minute and a half sucks. Like, it's not fun at
Mhm.
all.
Yeah.
Your feet and your hands are burning, and not in a hot way, but in a very, very cold
Yeah.
way. And then you just kind of suppress it. Like, I feel like I get that crazy anxiety, like almost like my throat's like bulging out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then I just close my eyes for a second. I'm like, all right, go to my
Yeah.
happy
Well, that's
place.
just the thing. You have to calm your breath. You
Oh,
have to get
yeah.
your breath. And then some people will have their hands out, and I'm like, dude, you gotta have your hands in
Yeah,
there.
get in
Like
there.
the hands
You gotta
have
get
to
in
be in. So
Yeah.
that's another thing that makes the experience
It's
so much
10
worse.
times worse.
And but again, that's why Wim Hof, that's how he started,
Mhm.
was he
Mhm.
realized that when you get into cold water, you're like freaking out and like hyperventilating in a sense. And then the quicker you jump in
Mhm.
from your frontal cortex, the quicker you jump in and go, calm down, just
Mhm.
control the breathing. And then just really just rushing and just doing that deep breathing.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden you realize like that quickly gets you to that state
Oh.
of like calm. So if you get in and you start panicking, that's normal. That's your body just telling
Yeah.
you like, dude, this is a really not smart thing. You're going to freeze to death. We all know you're not going to.
Yeah.
So just calm the breathing down, and then that'll kind of flatline quicker.
Mhm. But it helps for my racing from a mental standpoint. Like, when
100%.
things unexpectedly go downhill, you can just be like, all right, I got this. There's a road. I have shoes. Like, we're just going to hit the pavement and
Yeah,
take one step at a
exactly.
time.
Dude. So and on January 1st this year, so a running group up on the west side, every January 1st at noon, they go to Lake Erie and they jump in. And
Yeah.
so one of my clients was like, hey, you should like come because it's like real close. I was like, all right, yeah, I'll show up. And we get there and we're walking down the steps, and there's this lady cracking open hand warmers. She's like, I'm just preparing for after I get in. And like, it's like, what are those gonna do? You're gonna be soaking. And she's like, like cracking them open. But there was something to it because like after we were done, we were walking back up, and I was walking. Her name's Jess, and she's like, I don't understand why that lady was cracking open hand warmers. Like, she's like, what are those gonna do in that moment? Like, it's
Right.
not gonna do anything. Like, you just do it, and then
Just
like
get in
you're
there and do it.
fine. You're fine afterwards.
Yeah.
And that was really cool to have her see that revelation.
So I kind of feel like, so we're kind of rounding third here in the episode, but I feel like another thing that I often hear patients talk about is they're like, you don't understand, like, I'm a freeze baby.
Yeah.
Some people may have Raynaud's, which is the thing. So
Yeah.
they have to be careful with cold plunging. I get that. So obviously talk to your physician if you're concerned about it. But some people are like just freeze babies, which is basically like, you're just always kind of cold.
Mhm.
That's why you're always sort of cold, because
Right.
you literally have never challenged yourself to get to this point. Meaning that, what is the biggest benefit of these cold plunges? It's actually turning white fat over into brown fat. And that's the energy production that you get. So
Mhm.
there's the cortisol level that rises. So you get in there, it's a strenuous thing, and you're like, dude, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. And then all of a sudden your cortisol like ramps right up. And which is good, because that's what you want in the morning. You want your cortisol to raise. And so that's a benefit there. So that's how you get increased energy. The second thing is your body starts to go, well, heck, if they're going to keep submitting themselves to cold like this, we have to make our fat less, we have to make it more efficient with energy production. So it turns white fat into brown fat. Now, brown fat is healthy fat in the body. That's the kind of fat that lines organs. It turns your white fat on the surface of your skin and adipose tissue, like if you have like a gut or like excess fat somewhere, it turns that into brown fat, which makes it more metabolic. So your metabolism literally raises. You get more mitochondria in the fat cells, which makes it brown. And then that's how you get an increased energy production. And then it's way healthier for you, because the brown fat actually is much better with like insulin regulation and leptin and all these other hormones. So there's like so many benefits to this. So even if you're like skinny and don't technically have any like fat, you probably have a thin layer of white fat on you that can be turned over to brown fat. And you would get rid of the freeze babiness side of you, you would get rid of that. You wouldn't just always be cold and always have like a sniffly nose and always need sweaters. Like, that's literally how you get around it, is by challenging yourself with that temperature. So it's actually the exact opposite of what you think you would need to do. So I think that's like, I have that conversation almost daily with patients.
Mhm. Yeah,
Any
I
last
agree.
tidbits on this topic?
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah. What about you?
I don't think so. No. I mean, I think people should try it. I think people should be curious if they're I mean, if you're curious, and I think to go to your point, like I I really have dove into things that my body are telling me that I should be doing, like put on the sweater or like, you know, uh like or like take the sweater off, whatever it might be. I should probably sink into that. So like if I'm like, oh, I need to put on the sweater. No, I should probably not put on that sweater. I should probably adapt to being in
Yeah.
the cold, or like if I'm hot, like just leave it. Like it's okay. Like we're in this environment now. We want to adapt to this environment so we're not so uncomfortable. And honestly, like in the long run, it makes you more comfortable.
Yeah, that brings up another interesting point is like, Matt talked earlier about how we organize some of our days in the week so that we can run at lunch. And this works out really well in the summer because we get that heat training because we
Mhm.
literally run in the hottest part of the day. Um, and I think too many people are afraid of that. Like, I don't understand why. Like, just run in situations that are uncomfortable so that you don't have to stress about the race.
Yeah.
If the race is going to be hot, like all of a sudden you're like freaking out. It's like everybody bombed to Boston this year because everybody's afraid of the heat. Like,
Right.
just run in the heat. I don't
Right.
understand it. Or use the sauna. I mean, you could have easily prepped for that. So I kind of don't really understand like how everybody like was so um
Now to
like
adapt to
affected
that.
by that. Yeah, exactly. It's like it's in late April. You potentially could be hot, so you got to take care of
Mhm.
that.
Well, I
But the other
think,
thing too is like the cold hikes.
dude, I want to get
I
back into
know.
doing those
So like
again.
those are cool. So like you know how like if you read one of the that what I forget the name of the book. It's one of the Wim Hof books where they hike to the top of Kilimanjaro in just their skivvies. And basically it's just like, like it obviously starts out decent temperature on the lower elevation and then gets up higher elevation. It's in the 30s and 40s, and the whole time they're just breathing and engaging and just and embracing sort of the elements. And every now and again in the winter, I'll just go outside and run in just shorts.
Oh, dude, it's
I know
doing
that will
night
get you some
hikes.
good likes or
That's
looks for
just my
sure.
everyday.
Yeah.
I can't get much less than that. So,
Yeah, so
Mhm.
night hike.
Night
So
hikes are the best
yeah,
though.
night hikes
Oh.
just with like, just in shorts is a thing we do in the winter as well.
but I think it's just the mentality of like, what we were just talking about. Like, people are so adept to not wanting to go out and kind
Yeah.
of push themselves. And it's like if you torture yourself now when and it's in an enclosed environment that you can control,
Mhm.
then when you're in a race and it's not in your control, you're so much better for
Yeah,
it.
well, dude, not even in race,
Or
life.
life,
Well,
yeah.
Yeah.
think about it this way, like in I can't remember what book I read this, but they were talking about this, like, and this is like a genius idea. It's like, imagine if a clot comes through, there's an old clot's flowing through your bloodstream, and it gets to a vessel, and then it clogs it. If you spent your whole life at 72 degrees and you never challenged your temperature, you never forced expansion of blood vessels or contraction of blood vessels, expansion of blood vessels on the extremity with heat, but also with heat exposure, you get contraction of blood vessels to your internal organs because you're trying to send blood to the extremities to cool off. The vice versa happens with cold exposure. You get increased
Mhm.
blood flow to the core, to your gut, to the vital organs because you have to maintain integrity of the vital organs with cold exposure. And your body takes the blood away from the extremities to puts it in the vital organs. So the vessels literally open and close based on that stimulus. So say
Mhm.
a old big old clot comes through and you just like it just gets in the vessel and you never exposed it to any temperature changes, then it just stays there. And next thing you know, you have a clot. Well, say the clot comes through and you did expose it to these temperatures, it literally will milk it. There are muscles on blood vessels, smooth muscle that will expand and contract, and it literally will milk that clot through. That is not theory. That is it actually in practice. And so challenging yourself is that hormetic effect, that challenge basically makes it so that you are more resilient for just life things that happen.
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's a great
That's a
idea.
great idea. I've
Yeah,
heard that before too.
it's a pretty cool concept,
It is.
and
It's a
it's
no-brainer too. Like to me, I think that right there, when I heard that, I think it was either from Suzanne Soberg. She's
yeah.
like the cold therapy I would say like
Guru.
Yeah, like she's done so many studies. Like when she said that, I was like, yeah, that's no
I know,
brainer.
it's amazing.
I'm in. I'm all
Well, and
in.
then that's the thing too, like, you say you're in there, and then you had a family member that died of a stroke or heart
Mhm.
attack or whatever, and you're like, you go to do now you understand, like, I'm doing this preventatively.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like making small investments in your health so that you don't have to make this large investment later in life.
Mhm.
You know, it's just
Mhm.
simple, it's simple like economics. So, well, I think that's a good ending point. I think this was a
I
great
do too.
episode, and be sure if you guys like the topic, be sure to interact with us and let us know what you think, and be sure to subscribe to our page and give us some feedback. So we're always looking for what you guys are thinking about everything. So again, thanks for joining us.
Thank
Joining us.
you.
Thank you.